Picking out a great smartwatch for an Android phone is actually more complicated than most people think. See, unlike the Apple Watch, which was specifically designed to complement the iPhone, Google's approach to Wear OS is dramatically different. Think of it more as a jack of all trades and master of none. It works with iOS, but is not better than an Apple Watch, and well, it naturally works with Android, but it's also not better at it than its competitors. And sure, Samsung makes lots of Tizen alternatives, and we've covered those extensively in other videos, but the operating system I never thought I'd one day like is Huawei's Light OS. I actually questioned the whole need for Huawei to reinvent the wheel with its own operating system after being the maker of one of the best Android Wear smartwatches I've ever used. Thing is, notice how I mentioned Android Wear instead of Wear OS? Sadly, that was years ago, and the more I see how the Wear OS platform evolves, the more I understand why Huawei and Honor jumped ship. I honestly did not like the first iterations that Huawei and Honor launched, but this story has changed dramatically with version 2. This is the Honor Magic Watch 2, the most recent iteration of a smartwatch running Light OS, and quite frankly, one of the best smartwatches that I've seen and used so far. And this is the new Moto 360, the successor to one of my favorite smartwatches of all time, and also one of the best performers running Google's wearable operating system. The only question left is if Light OS is better than Wear OS, or better yet, which watch does what better. I'm Jaime Rivera with Pocket Now, and let's compare. I think that by now it's perfectly clear, nobody needs a smartwatch. You are perfectly fine with a dumb watch or no watch at all. And I think that smartwatches were off to a rocky start because nobody was really asking for a phone in their wrist. I even find it funny when some watches run applications and they actually even struggle to run their own operating systems. For me, smartwatches are about 4 key essentials. The first one being looks and versatility, and by versatility I mean my second point, which is the fact that I care about fitness. The third would be user interface, the fourth, battery life. Let's begin with the first. Wear OS has a lot more variety than Light OS. The Fossil Group alone makes a ton of watches, from a bevy of brands and in all the sizes, colors, and finishes you can imagine. If you prefer a larger option or if you have small wrists, Wear OS has you covered. This Moto 360 is not really my favorite size. I tend to prefer larger watches, but I'm sure that many of you would like it. Light OS, on the other hand, has only a few variants. There's the first generation Huawei and Honor watches, and now we've got the Huawei Watch GT2 and the Honor Magic Watch 2. Honestly, I tend to prefer the latter because it has more variants in color designs, and all these watches are quite beautiful. Variety is definitely won by Wear OS, but I'll give looks a tie because Honor's offerings are honestly really my favorite. When it comes to fitness, I don't even think it's fair to compare. Anything is better than Wear OS. I mean, last year I did this whole Google Fit challenge and I was just so disappointed. First of all, most smartwatches have a heart rate sensor, but they don't necessarily operate consistently, and the build of the watch is really not designed to be a fitness watch. Some of these are too heavy. And then the training options are just ridiculous. The heart rate monitoring is inaccurate, and don't even bother going for a run with it. You'll be around a quarter of a mile off. It's just not worth it. Unless you're using a Polar M600, which was specifically customized for fitness, I wouldn't even bother. And you have to remember, that's not really a watch that's designed to do anything other than fitness. So there's really no versatility. Now, there is some light at the end of the tunnel with the new Puma watch and the new Suunto, so long as they don't rely on Google Fit. I'll report on that later. And see, this is something that Light OS gets right. This is persistent heart rate monitoring like a Garmin or a Fitbit, so you're being tracked all day, not just every now and then. And then when training, I've spent a month comparing results with the Apple Watch Series 5 and the Garmin Fenix 5 Plus, and even my chest strap. And this watch is crazy accurate. It provides heart rate zone information as you train, has detailed sleep tracking, and the band included is adequate for different occasions. I'm definitely giving fitness to Light OS by a long shot. User interface is something really interesting to compare because their similarities are significant. It feels like if Huawei actually designed Light OS on Honor and Huawei watches to feel and look the same, even if they don't perform the same. So if you're switching from Wear OS to an Honor Magic Watch 2, you'll feel right at home. Swipe from the top for controls, from the bottom for notifications, from the right for tiles, and really the only difference is swiping from the left, as Wear OS has the Google Assistant and Light OS just switches tiles from side to side as well. Now, which is better? Well, you could say Wear OS is more complete because it has a full-blown third-party app store. It supports third-party watch phases. There are watches with a digital crown user interface, and even notifications feel more robust. The thing is, all of that is pointless if it doesn't run well. Wear OS is so resource hungry that sometimes the apps don't launch, the Google Assistant takes forever to work, notifications are inconsistent, and most watches stutter a lot. Guys, I really can't even figure out how to set Celsius as my temperature on the damn watch face. It's really frustrating. And sure, I do wish that Light OS did more, but at least the difference is that what it does right. I mean, performance is not choppy. I can control temperature units and other elements in the watch phases. The services included are actually useful. I feel that it doesn't try to do too much because honestly, if you're looking to use an application, I don't think the watch experience is going to be any better than the phone. Last but not least, let's talk endurance, where Light OS beats the pants out of pretty much every other smartwatch platform with a full screen is in battery life. And that means comparing it to the Apple Watch, to the Galaxy Watch, heck, even to my Garmin. The 14 days of use is no joke. I've set my watch with persistent heart rate monitoring. I train with it at least an hour a day. I use it for sleep tracking. It's been persistently connected to my Pixel via Bluetooth. And seriously, I barely lose 50% battery life in a week. That is seriously insane. Even the battery life on my Fenix 5 Plus will last, about a week or a little more at most. Wear OS in this department is just terrible. I mean, what's the point of having all this capability for an always-on display and persistent connectivity if you have to be switching things off just for the watch to reach end of day? Now, in its defense, this Moto 360 is actually the only watch that I've tested that goes beyond the day with all services active, but any other option I've tested is dead in about 12 hours or a bit more. Light OS is definitely the winner, and that's even comparing it to other platforms. To conclude, I think it's very important to go back to the initial premise: you do not need a smartwatch, let alone the second premise, which is the fact that you do not need a smartphone on your wrist. And that's where I feel that Wear OS fails. It tries to do too much at the expense of a very bad user experience in most cases, and in certain ones, the fact that you end up paying a hefty price tag. And you can go and find an inexpensive Wear OS variant from the Fossil Group, but I feel the only watch that does Wear OS well is this Moto 360 that cost a whopping $350. Seriously, I'd rather have a watch that can at least behave like a watch. I want it to be fancy. I want it to adapt to being my fitness watch so that I don't have to track info on two different systems. And I really want a user interface that just works because I need it to be reliable for me on the go. And most important, I don't want to worry about charging my watch every day. In that sense, I think that Light OS is a far better solution, because if I told you that you can find this Honor Magic Watch 2 in certain markets for up to less than $200, then the whole discussion becomes a complete no-brainer. If it were my money, the Honor Magic Watch 2 is definitely a better buy. Let us know what you think about the Honor Magic Watch 2 in the comments down below, and while you're at it, follow us on social media. Subscribe to our channel for more videos like this one, and also follow me on my personal handles to see me test out watches in my fitness routine. Please give this video a thumbs up if you like what you saw. I'm Jaime Rivera. Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you on the next one.